Hi everyone, welcome along to Through the Banner on thewest.com.au. He's COD, I'm Skeet. Great to have your company as we look ahead to round 19. Before we go through the teams and maybe some tips, Craig O'Donoghue, what about the prospect of WA hosting this year's AFL Grand Final? It's not as fanciful as some may say.
No, it's looking like it's an actual possibility this year. The government are more open to it than what they were last year. They put a lot of restrictions in place because it was going to be really hard last year for the AFL to come over and have it. We've been in a Sunday Grand Final last year under the restrictions that were on the players then. But we're seeing now that a lot of other states are closed. The MCG are going to fight hard for it because they have a contract. But if it can't be there, with 60,000 people as a possibility still for Perth, Mark McGowan's not saying no, and that's a really strong indication that there is enough interest within the government and within the state to bring it over here if it's a possibility that the AFL are prepared to move it.
And we know with COVID obstacles still in place, teams like Port Adelaide, the Adelaide Crows, quickly on the move to Melbourne. Queensland's becoming somewhat of a hub for a couple of clubs as well, so it's very much a fluid situation, but WA is in the mix. Looking ahead to what will be a special day for David Mundy, 350 games when he appears on Sunday against the Swans. And that games record of Matthew Pavlich, it's closing in. He signed a new contract. We hail David Mundy.
An amazing player. It's amazing to even think that he had to wait until he was 19 to debut. He missed his entire first year, wasn't picked. So most of the guys who have massive milestones have been playing since they were 17 or 18, but he was a later starter for Fremantle. He's so durable and has just been able to play at a consistently higher level with his skill and his ability to win the ball in close. He's gone from half-back into the midfield, kicks goals, does all these amazing things. He's a champion of the game, and it'll be a really big occasion for him. Unfortunately, his family's from Victoria, which means they're going to struggle to get to Queensland, but it's great to see such a milestone, 350 games. It's just extraordinary, really.
And 353's in his sights, Matthew Pavlich. Round 23 against the Saints looms. If all things go well, him breaking that record. Let's get into the teams. They've just been named. West Coast, first of all, 4 big inclusions, headlined by the veteran Josh Kennedy.
Yeah, he comes back from that calf injury from last week. Obviously, there was a 6-day break. They weren't too comfortable about sending him at his age out there with a 6-day break with a calf. So he's in. Jakey Waterman, who dominated the waffle on the weekend, just absolutely ran amok. He gets his opportunity. Xavier O'Neill is also in that team. And then a fan favourite, someone who's been waiting for a long time to get back from injury, is Mark Hutchings. So fantastic to see him back in after a real ordeal to try to get his body right. So it's good to see there. And when we look at the outs, Bailey Williams is out, Luke Edwards is also out, Jack Petrocelli, but the big one is Luke Shuey, who has a calf injury and will miss a couple of weeks. Not a good sign for West Coast, not a good sign for him after all of his hamstring injuries. And the man who replaced him as the sub last week, Jackson Nelson, is also out of that team.
The Eagles taking on the Saints 2:35 Saturday afternoon at Optus Stadium. To the Fremantle Dockers, they've got 6 inclusions for their game against the Sydney Swans on the Gold Coast. 10:30 start on Sunday morning our time. Some interesting names picked by Fremantle as they try to keep their season alive.
Yeah, obviously these are squads, so these have to be trimmed down throughout the weekend. But Hayden Young is back, which is really good for him after a lot of injuries also. Matt Tabner just gives them that key forward that they desperately need to kick goals. It's such an important position on the team that Matt Tabner fills. Lloyd Meek may come into the team. We know that there's been some issues with the ruck and the injury issues with Sean Darcy, whether he gets up. Connor Blakely is in there also, along with Mitch Crowden. But Nathan O'Driscoll, who you saw play last week in the Waffle, could potentially be making his debut.
Yeah, that's great news for him. And hopefully we see some of these young players come through at the Fremantle Dockers as this season wears on. If they can't make the finals particularly, give them some exposure, give their fans something to look into for 2022.
And when we look at the outs, Sam Switkowski and Rory Lobb are both injured, and Blake Acres has been dropped, who's really struggled this year on the wing, hasn't been able to find as much of the footy as he would have liked, so he's been sent back to the Waffle.
What about the rest of the round? Some big names returning across the competition.
Yeah, Patrick Cripps can't get any bigger at Carlton than Patrick Cripps, such an important player for them, their captain. Tom Liberatore will give the Western Bulldogs some bite in that midfield up against Melbourne. And if you're the Collingwood Footy Club, you'd be looking at going, they're debuting 2 guys this week, and Port Adelaide are bringing back Dersma, Butters and Rosie. Good luck in Travis Boak's 300th game when you're coming up against that.
That is Friday night football. You'll see that game, of course, on 7, mate. Can't let you go, Craig O'Donoghue. You're too clear, COD, on top of the West Footy tipping competition. You've declared before we went on camera this afternoon that you are certain to win this. It's all over, bar the shouting. What's your secret?
The secret is Tip the favourites as much as possible. Don't take any stupid risks. Be really conservative. Any 50-50 game, go the home team. My brother-in-law bagged me one week for tipping against West Coast when they're away. I said they're away, 50-50 game. He wasn't bagging me after they lost. So 50-50 games when they're away, always go the home team. That's the most important thing. Don't get sucked in by the heart. Go with the head as much as you can. Go to the Mighty Essendon Football Club this weekend.
And don't get sucked in by the early crow from Craig O'Donoghue. There's still a bit of footy to be played in the course of the footy tipping season at least. Now, we urge you, of course, to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel at The West Australian. And for all your news and sport, head to thewest.com.au. This has been Through the Banner. On behalf of Scott, COD and Skeet, have a great weekend. Enjoy your footy.